All right, we are live. And we'll go live on Amazon. There we go. Okay, we are cranking out content today. And now what I need to do is get some, so we're kind of just getting a couple of things set up here. And I'm in the middle of shooting a review, and I thought, hey, why not bring in all of my friends? So hopefully you all are here watching right now. So we'll be saying hello to some folks as I do a little bit of setup here, and the goal is to get this video shot in the next 2 hours, because I got like 3 things on the docket today that I want to get done. And I want to say good morning to some friends. I'm changing up the title here. Michael Kidd is here from YouTube. Romeric is here. Good morning, or good afternoon to you. Nigel Mack is here. Mark Dell is here, my buddy. I just sold him my my ATEM Mini. Not the Pro, but the Pro, but not the Extreme. Andy G is here. Hello there. What do you think of the new titling? Isn't that cool? It's a new. I upgraded vMix to the new version. Sharat wants to know, do I know about the Google Sleep Surveillance device? Yeah, I've heard of it. I have not. I don't own one. I just don't like having microphones in my sleeping quarters, in my hibernation chamber. And we've got Ian Hobbies from Spain. Misael Guzman de Jesus, buenos dias. Buenos dias to you. ¿Cómo estás? Gilles Richter is here. Jassy C is here. L2 James has got one on pre-order, and it's afternoon there. Mark likes the new titles. Michael Russo, hello. Yeah, the titles are great. And Mizel is in the Dominican Republic. I would love to be down there right now. A little nicer weather. Actually, it's not bad here today. Giles wants to know, do I have the black one? No, they sent me the gray one. They sent me the gray one. It actually works out because I think the gray one works better on camera for me. And then Mark Dell, yeah, I think if it's just analyzing sound, right, if it's going to pick up the person next to you also, unless they've got some way of filtering out individual stuff there. So what we're doing right now, I'm just getting a couple of things set up here because hang on a second, my wife is calling me. Give me a second here. I think we're doing steaks tonight. I think the reality is we're going to be doing Taco Tuesday again. All right. Chanflay 98. I did not know this, but Chanflay is Dominican but lives in the U.S. We have people from all over the world here. Mark Dell says it uses radar and sound. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. We'll have to see how that works. Yeah, what you heard from my Spanish was the extent of my Spanish abilities. I can say like 3 other things, but that's about it. Oddly, I can read Spanish and understand it. I can't hear it fast enough to process it, but it's what it is. So, all right. So now let me get my brain back in position here because I just want to set up my virtual set. And it's not really a virtual set. It's just what they call it in vMix here because I'm going to bring in the iPhone screen because I believe there's a way to get this to work with the iPhone, and I just want to test that before I start shooting the video. Because I hate to get through my introduction and talking about compatibility and then not have it actually be compatible. So we're gonna test that first. So we're just gonna set this up, and layer 1 is gonna be my phone, which I have to add to the NDI here. Get that going. And then input 1 is going to be that. And now we've got my, oops, I just messed it up. There we go. Okay, so now we've got my phone here. I'm just going to go into so this is what the virtual set looks like that I just set up. And what I'm going to do is so the controller here is kind of neat. It's a lot like the other one. So I don't think it's going to be, the big difference, and I'll cover this when we go through the hardware overview, and if you saw my video on the extras channel, you saw some of this already, but they've moved from having like a controller combination push to now having a switch here at the bottom. So I've got it in the Mac OS mode right now, which is A. It's hard to see, but so my camera can't focus. Here you can. So the left is the Nintendo Switch, all the way to the left. All the way to the right is X input. And what I'm reading is that if you put it into A and then start pairing it with your phone, you should be able to get this to work with iOS natively. So we're going to try that real quick. So I'm just going to go into my Bluetooth settings here. And from what I'm reading, it should show up as a, let's see what we got here. From what I'm reading, it's supposed to show up as a Sony PlayStation controller. So let's see if that's the case here. And by the way, I don't own a Range Rover. That's my dad's car. So I don't have a Tesla and a Range Rover. All right, let's see. Let's let that kind of work. Yes, it's not detecting it. So let me hit it again. So I'm in A mode, because that was what everyone was saying online, that you could put it into A mode and that it will get detected that way. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, they changed the buttons on this, Mark Dell, because it used to be the buttons on this were more Super Nintendo-like on the gray one. Now they're kind of like Xbox buttons. So they're not, you don't have that concave and the reverse now. They're all exactly the same. So they've got that Xbox coloring to them. And oddly, it doesn't work with the Xbox. It'll work with the PC in X input mode. It does not, though, work with the Xbox. All right, so I'm going to move this into direct input mode and see if the iPhone picks it up that way. It's not seeing it at all. All right, so now we're in direct input mode. So let's hit the button here. Because what people were saying online was that you could switch it into A mode and it would show up on there, but it's not, my phone is just not picking it up. Let's see. So it's got the living room TV and my, whatever the Pro is. Is Pro that? Maybe this is Pro. That could be what it is. Hang on a second. Let me switch it back to A. Although I think Pro is my NVIDIA Shield over there. Yes, convex and concave. That's what I was thinking of, William Wilkinson. That's exactly what I was thinking about. All right, so now it's blinking. So let me hit the pairing button again here. Yes, I don't think I am seeing it here showing up. So let's hit Pro and see what happens. Yeah, that's not it. Now this button here is for the profiles. Michael Kidd's wondering if there's status buttons. Yeah, the buttons are on the bottom here, or the lights. So right now it's in pairing mode, and I have it in A, which is what everyone was saying. So it's not, and they're not touting compatibility with iOS. Oddly though, they have an app that you can use to configure the controller in iOS, but it doesn't seem to be working just yet. So let's go. I'm just going to go back to the post that I saw here. Use the Pro Plus on my, so this is for the Pro Plus. I use Pro Plus on my iPhone. This is a Reddit post. XR, play, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it actually does work with the accessibility workaround. Hold Start A to enter pairing mode as if it was an iOS device, and then go to Bluetooth settings in your iOS device and select DualShock controller. Yeah, it's supposed to show up as a DualShock controller in that mode, but it's just not appearing here. Let me hold down the button again and see if we can get that to force it. We'll get it figured out. Maybe I got to hold down the start button or something here too, so let's try that. Might help if I read the instructions, wouldn't it? And again, I'm just trying to see if I can get it to work with iOS. And I know some people have had success with that. Travis Cunningham loves the 8Bitdo products. Yeah, I like them quite a bit too. You know, what's been fun about them is I've been looking at them for years now, and there's been a real effort on continuous improvement with these things. All right, let's see if just turning it on makes a difference here. Like I said, I don't know if this workaround works anymore, because it might be that Apple closed that loop on it. Because this post on Reddit I was looking at was talking about iOS 13, not 14, which I'm on. Michael wants to know, do the face buttons feel more or less mushy? Is the D-pad? So the D-pad feels the same to me. It might feel a little stiffer. I mean, slightly. The buttons are definitely, this is hard to say. I have to get the other one. They feel pretty close to the old one. So I'm not feeling, if you didn't like the way the old one felt, I don't think this is going to be a difference for you. Mark Dell says, yes, they do support Xbox controllers in X input mode, although it doesn't support unofficial controllers that are in that mode. But let's try it. Let's see what happens. Maybe things have changed here. So I just switched it into X input mode. That's one thing I like about this, is that you don't have to do the crazy button combinations now, which you had to remember. Now it is just built right in. So let's go back into pairing mode here. Let's see if the phone picks this up. Andy G is wondering about the materials. Materials feel good. You know, like I said, it feels a lot like the other one. It does have a nice texture here on the bottom, so I think that's new. So and it's a little lighter. It does feel a little bit lighter, although I don't have a weight difference. Mark Weidman wants to know, is it identical to the one that they were selling about a year ago? No, we're going to talk about that as we work our way into the review. There's a couple of new features. The big one here is that you've got now 2 buttons on the bottom that you can program. So that's a new feature. The other feature that they've added, these are the 2 significant ones, is that you've now got a profile button here at the top. And so you can program 3 distinct profiles into the controller from the software, and then you can switch back and forth. And was looking through some comments here. Andy G's looking for a good controller to play in GeForce Now. One other thing that they're going to come out with for this, I'll pull it up on the screen here in a second, is they are coming up with a clip that's a lot like their Xbox controller clip. So I'll pull this up on screen for you so you can see what it looks like here. Let me put this into the window, and I'll take it live here in a second. So they've improved the clip significantly. So if you saw my video of the Xbox clip, this one is the new one. It's not out yet, but I would imagine this is going to be out later this month, or next week, I think. So I'm going to pick one of these up. That's a perfect pairing. And what I found is that the handles on this really help balance the weight. So that's definitely something to look at, especially if you're doing a lot of phone-based stuff. I'm going to try this one more time. I know it's going to pair up with my Mac and everything. Let me see if the Mac is seeing it. Come back to my Mac, and we'll go to Bluetooth. It's just the iPhones really are problematic. They only like the official Xbox controllers. Yeah, so I'm going to reset the Bluetooth on my phone, because I think that might be part of the problem. Let's turn the Bluetooth off real quick. Turn the Bluetooth back on, because my Mac is seeing it right away. It's seeing 8Bitdo Pro 2. Here, I'll pull this up on the screen here. So the Mac, as you can see, it shows up right there. So the iPhone's just not seeing it right now. So now we've got to figure out how all these people get their controllers to work when I can't. All right, iOS 14. I'm going to search for iOS 14, because there's a way to do it. I want to be able to demonstrate that. Okay, so it looks like in iOS 13 it worked. iOS 14 doesn't. All right, so let me see what any is in this one. I'm just looking through some of the comments here. So you have to go, so you got to go into, okay, so let's try this. So it looks like you got to go back to the old method, which was to use the accessibility settings. So let me go into accessibility, and then we'll try that out real quick and see what we get. And I got a ton of comments coming through, so I'm probably missing some here. So if I don't get you, just ask again. Just don't ask like 1,200 times in a row. Yeah, so this is exactly it. So you've got to go. So apparently in iOS 13 there was a way around this, but now it's back to how it was before. So what we have to do is go to Settings, Accessibility, Switch Control. All right, so let's go pull this back up on screen here. So it looks like the workaround that they had before is what you want to do now. So we're going to go over here to Switch Control, and we're going to turn this on. Switch Control changes the gestures used to control your iPhone. Are you sure you want to continue? Do I really want to do that? There should be a Bluetooth option on here. Okay, Bluetooth devices, I see. Okay, so let's turn this back on. So I guess what I got to do though is put it into the A mode. And then we'll switch it back on. And let's see if it finds it now. Yeah, so now it sees the wireless controller. Yeah, so now it's connected. So yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, right? I mean, this is one of those things where, well, you can do it, but would you buy this for that purpose? I don't know. So let me try Genshin Impact real quick and see if that allows us to control it. So I'd hate to like have this thing like start. William Wilkinson asks, would it pair up with? Yeah, so Windows PCs, no problem. Macs, no problem. But iOS, problem. So there you go. There are some other colors. They have a classic Game Boy color and a black one. So there you go. And yes, I do have Apple Arcade. Apparently, I still have a demo or a trial account. So give me some game recommendations that work great with a game controller, Mark Dell. I would love to try that out. I have not seen any latency improvements on the 8Bitdos. I mean, I think they're fine. From my testing, the limited ability I can do the testing with, I have found that they are as good as, just want to see if this is going to work here. Yeah, this is not going to be ideal. They work as good as my Xbox controllers do when they're plugged in. The Bluetooth just adds latency, and you can't get around it. And it varies based on how your computer is configured also. So some Bluetooth hosts are better than others from a latency standpoint. Jack N says the buttons look glossier. They don't feel more slippery. That's a good question. They don't feel more slippery. They feel about the same, but you don't have the old version of this configuration had concave and convex buttons. These are all convex. So you don't have that variation. You can't feel around, but they don't feel that slippery. Although my hands don't sweat that much. I had a friend growing up, his hands would just, ugh. I had a controller that he could use that I would never touch. Michael uses, yeah, I did some testing initially on it. It is pretty much the same as the last one. I don't think there's any real latency improvements here. Is the handle shape or button layout changed at all? No, the only difference is the bottom buttons that they added, these two here. So World of Demons is what Mark Dell says I should check out. We'll give that a shot. Yeah, I think I'm going to avoid talking about iOS compatibility in the review, just because it's not. I'm not going to mention it, and that there is a workaround, but it's not plug and play, right? So that's the one issue. Price is $50 on this. These are up for pre-order on Amazon. So if you click the affiliate link in the video description, you can head on over there and check it out. And let me just stop this briefly here. And I'm going to go over to back to the Creator app on Amazon here. Okay, so I am looking at some Amazon chats now. Rain or Shine D says, had no idea there's off-brand controllers. I wonder if there's an off-brand console. There's many off-brand consoles out there for sure. And 8Bitdo is one of the more respected brands, I think, in this space. Rain or Shine says, not sure the difference between this controller and an Xbox controller. I'll tell you what I like about these, is that it's got a nice retro feel to it. What I also like about it is that the D-pad is really nice. It works with the Switch and the PC, and those are the two things that I game a lot on. So what's nice is I can use the same controller on both, and with this one I can just flick the Switch to go back and forth. Eunice says, have I gone over the differences? Not yet, but I'm going to, because I'm recording a review, and I just had a few things that I wanted to test before we went forward with that. Tano says the X, Y, and A buttons are in different positions. Let me find, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, so this is the Switch layout on this. That's why the buttons are in that layout. So I need to mention that. That's a really good observation. And this is why I do these things live. So hardware. Now, what will happen is when you put it in X input mode, the buttons will align with the Xbox layout. So you're right. Your number is not going to, on the PC in X input, it's not going to align the right way. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Wow, these comments are coming in super fast. I can't keep up with it. Does it use the same battery pack as the Pro Plus? I think it does. It's got, I think that looks the same. I guess I could pull it out and see. Somebody will have to look this up, so my Pro Plus is upstairs. Yeah, actually, it's the same exact battery because it says SN30 Pro Plus on there, so your batteries will work. So it's the same battery life as the other one. Yeah, the D-pad was great for Super Mario 35. Not anymore, though. I tried to load it up, and it didn't work. And Michael Reinecke makes a very good point here. Yeah, you want to reduce that latency as best you can. I usually, so upstairs on the Switch, we usually just go Bluetooth because I'm playing with the kids. You know what I mean? Not a big deal. We're playing Animal Crossing most of the time, so the latency isn't that big of a deal. But yeah, if you want the best latency, you're going to want to plug it in. E.C. Myers wants to know, does it take AA's? Yes, I believe it does. So if you wanted to use AA's instead, I believe they slide right in there. Yeah. So it supports both. So you've got pins for this battery, and then, because I guess that's for the charging component there. But you could plug AA's in. But your AA's won't charge in here. So if you have rechargeable AA's, they're not going to charge. And this is a lithium battery. It's 1,000 milliamp hours. I'm pretty sure it's lithium. But this comes with it. So that's built right in there. Juan, I do not know how much it costs in Indonesia. So you'd have to check locally there. Are the buttons or the D-pad taller? I don't believe so. I think it's pretty much the same. I should go get let me go get my other one real quick, and we'll handle some of those questions. Because I think it might be helpful to have a little comparative there. So let me go grab that real quick. I didn't get a feeling that it was a lot, like it didn't feel a lot different to me. And it's just that it adds some of those additional features to it. But this chat's helpful because I'm able to get some good ideas for what to talk about in the video. And actually, now that I think about it, I think what I might do briefly is hook this up to my Windows computer just to confirm that it remaps the button layout. I'll tell you what, the old one feels a lot heavier, actually. All right, so here's the old one. And so if you're looking at the height, it's pretty much the same. I'm trying to get that dead on there. Yeah, it feels, the D-pad feels like almost identical. The buttons have a little bit more travel, maybe. So this was so they had different versions of this. So you can see this one had concave buttons up here and convex buttons down here. So that's kind of the big difference there. Yeah, I haven't tried the new Star Trek game. I may try that out. I'm reluctant to get into another one of these mobile games that kind of suck your time, right? I found the input lag on these is about the same wirelessly as the Pro controller. It's pretty close. It is pretty close. So there you go. So yeah, not much of a difference here. I mean, it's definitely, I should weigh the two. I don't think it's, I'm going to go weigh these real quick. So let me give you give you a shot of this. I got a scale I'm going to weigh these on real quick just to see if there's any big weight difference. It feels like they came out of the same mold. So it's not like a huge difference here. Okay, so the weight of the Pro Plus, hang on, I just screwed up this thing. Go wait for my scale to boot up. All right, so the old one is 7.9 ounces. Somebody can do the, all right, 7.9 ounces or 224 grams. The new one is 226. Isn't that interesting? It actually, they're exactly the same weight, but for some reason, I wonder if they balanced it better. All right, so now it's saying 222 grams versus 228. It's actually heavier. It's slightly heavier, but you wouldn't feel, you know what it is? It's they balanced it better. I mean, it's just a couple of grams heavier, but it's balanced better. So the internals, they must have balanced out a little bit better. Very interesting. All right, so that's intriguing. All right, so now, so I've already shot the intro. Battery life on this, let's see. I think I haven't like done a full battery blowdown, whatever, but it's the same. I mean, generally what I do with these, I just plug them in when I'm done with my session there. Yeah, it's 20 hours, just like the other one. So the battery life is the same as the old one. So the differences so far, and then I'm going to start recording. The differences so far, you get a textured back here, same battery, switch on the bottom, your two buttons now that you added at the bottom. We're going to talk about the software in a little bit too. D-pad buttons feel largely the same. You've got your analog triggers, shoulder buttons. Everything is very similar except some of the new features, which we'll get into. So input latency that I tested earlier, same as the other one. So it's about the same as your Pro controller. You're going to want to plug it in to get the minimal amount of latency. And your mileage varies on latency depending on what you're plugging it into. Oh, here's a good question from Kyle. Have they shifted the buttons over a little bit? It looks like they did, although there was a kind of a plastic border around the button before that's not there now. So it's pretty close. I mean, I guess I could go get a ruler, but it's minimal. So I think, like I said, I think the mold here is the same, although they did punch out a thing there for the buttons. Maybe they changed just the top plate component. I guess you can modify the mold to put a hole in that or something like that. Yeah, okay, right. So Mark Dell makes another good point. Right, so only the Super Nintendo themed one had those button variations. The other ones were all rounded. So now the gray one doesn't have that. It just has these buttons. And I'm guessing for cost, they probably have the same buttons on all of them now. That way they don't have to have, it's easier to make that. Michael Russo wants to know, are they the same width? Let's take a look. It looks like it. Here, I'll put the other one on top of the old one. I think they are pretty much the same width. Yeah. Yeah, it honestly feels very much the same in the hand, but it actually does feel better balanced. I think they balanced out the weight better. Does it have a gyro? Yes, it has gyro for the Switch, which we'll test in a little bit. I really hope that they would add the ability to macro 2 buttons at the same time. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Are the triggers better? The triggers feel the same. Yeah, I think the TLDR is that if you like the old one, you'll like the new one. If you didn't like the old one, the new one's not going to be much better. But I like the old one. My kids love it. He wants to know, if you melted it down in a furnace, could you use it as fuel for a diesel vehicle? I think it's possible, but it won't go that long. You might get a sputter before you run out. Do I think the upcoming clip for the phone will work with the older controller? I think that's a possibility because it's the same width as we saw, and those 2 little notches down there appear to be in the same place on both. So I think it should, because it looks like the mounting area is the same on that. So I would say yes. But we'll test that when it comes out. I think, J. Carl, you can map A plus B to the back button. There is a macro functionality built in, and we'll test that in a little bit. I know the answer to this question. It does not turn on the Switch. That still does not work, nor does the Amiibo thing work. And Office Dollar, yeah, I don't play Splatoon, so, and I don't really like motion controls all that much, but the gyro wasn't too good, so I'm not expecting the new one to be any different. Yeah, I have to test something. Maybe somebody has an idea as to like a good way to test the gyro on the Switch. So we'll see what happens there. D-pad feels exactly like it did before. Absolutely. Andy G is waiting for a wireless charge controller. You know, I've got something. I haven't had a chance to review it yet, but I do. Oh, you know what? Did they move start and select? So, sorry, I just got distracted by a comment. I think they're in the same spot. I do have something that I got in a little while ago that it's a Switch controller. I think it works with the Joy-Cons, and it does charge over the air. Very slowly, but it charges over the air. And you have to decide whether or not you want to bombard yourself with all of that electromagnetic radiation. But it doesn't go that far. Mark Dell wants gyroids and blathers. I love I love Animal Crossing more than I thought I would, because it's something my kids and I do together now. Select and start button is now in the middle of the thumbstick. It wasn't there before? It looks pretty much the same to me. Am I missing something? Oh, I see where people are confused. Yeah, this button actually is not a select and start. This is a profile switching button, which we'll be looking at as we work our way through the review. Joseph said, yes, this works with Android. And these work great with Android. So no issues there. And actually, what's nice is that when that clip comes out, which I will put on screen again in a second here, when that clip comes out, you can mount it to your phone and stream games on your phone. And we've demoed that before. And so, like, if you're using the Xbox cloud gaming thing, here, if you're doing the Xbox cloud gaming thing, perfect for that. And what I found with this controller in particular is that the handles really work to make this a well-balanced controller, and this one actually balances out its weight even better than the other one. So when you have that phone hanging off of it, the handles here kind of counter that weight, so it feels really good. Jennifer wants to know, is there drifting? I don't believe so. I've never had drifting on the other one that I own, so it's been pretty good. And my kids have really been playing with this one a lot and never have any drifting problems. I believe, Nick, that they make an adapter for the PS1. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, not the original PS1, right? The Mini it works with, but not the PS1. But there are retro adapters for the Super Nintendo, the original Nintendo, the Sega Genesis that do work with this. And it will work with any PC. It is USB-C, yes, that is correct. Does the clip still block the USB port? I'd imagine it will, although I think the new clip, let's take a look at that picture again. And let me get a closer image there for you. I think the new clip leaves room. Yeah, so the new clip does not block the USB like the old one did. So you see that? So you've got room there just to plug that USB-C cable right in there. So that's new, which is good because the old one you had to take the clip off, and it wasn't easy to get that clip off. Not at all. JP was talking about the middle placement, trying to compare it to the old SN30 Pro Plus select and start button. I must be missing something, but it looks like they're in the same exact spot. So this is the old one here on the left. So select and start are in the same spot, as far as I can see. Right? Unless they move. Actually, you know what? It was a little bit, it's a little bit off center, isn't it? So it is more centered. Yep, that is true. Actually, now I really noticed that. I never noticed that before, but you're right. It is was a little less centered. Joseph says, will I review the new clip? Yeah, absolutely. Because my intention for this controller is to start doing a little bit more game streaming on my Android phone, for sure. But that was a great question, Michael. Yeah, we'll definitely review that. But yeah, you're right. It was definitely off center, wasn't it? Yeah. And it must be based on where this button was coming in that they had to nudge it over. So they definitely were able to fix that. It's probably why they changed the buttons out. And that's true. So it could be either or, right? That's true. But it looks like they moved it by a few millimeters. This is what I love, by the way. See, I'm always self-conscious about reviewing any kind of game-related thing, because, and I say this not with. And David's Devices noticed that on the Amazon chat too. I want to give him credit too. I say this not in any kind of disparaging way, but gamers are the most observant and critical, in a good way, consumers out there. And what I get an enormous amount of entertainment out of is watching all of these companies continually forget about how educated gamers are as consumers. Nothing gets by them. If you try to pull one over on a gamer, they're going to figure it out, as we've seen over and over and over again. And the companies never learn, do they? So you got to be right. So it's always fun to do these live streams, because the questions that I get are things that I would not think about. Because I'm a gamer, but not like what I used to be as a kid. Like I just can't get the time to play the games as much as I want. So I've found with video games, I'm a lot like how I am with music. Like there's a point in time where you just stop listening to anything new, and that's where I'm at. So like I'm playing some new stuff, like the new Doom is great, like No Man's Sky, that kind of stuff is fun. But I'm finding that for the new games that I enjoy the most are the ones that remind me the most of the older ones. And on the Switch, you know, Animal Crossing is something we do with the kids. My daughter's getting into Smash Brothers, so I'm playing that a little bit. But you can even argue that those are old games also, right? So I kind of hit a wall. So like those long RPGs like The Witcher and that kind of stuff, you know, we look at that in our reviews to just see how the computers work with those particular games. But the other stuff we haven't really done much with because, or I haven't played much with just because of the time commitment, right? And that's you know, there's some games I really want to play, I just haven't been able to get to them. E.C. Myers makes a good point here also. Yeah, you know what's been funny about 8Bitdo too is the fact that they not only get it from understanding what their customer base is, there's continual improvement from one version to the next. And a lot of the stuff that I've always been more positive about their products than not, because I think they've done a nice job of kind of making these replica controllers. And then a lot of the shortfalls that you and I and everyone have kind of found with these over the years, they address it in the next version. So they're always kind of iterating based on what they're hearing. Magic Metaphysics only cares about retro games. I'm pretty much with you there. Mark Dell likes Dragon Quest on Game Pass. Yeah, Game Pass, believe it or not, I've actually started playing more games that I would not have before. I played a whole round of Madden the other night, because I hadn't played a football game in forever. And I was like, oh, it's on Game Pass. Yeah, I got a gigabit connection now. I can just download that sucker, and that's what I did. I love Game Pass. Again, another thing I wish I had more time for, because my kids don't like to play with the Xbox. They love the Switch, but the Xbox, there's nothing there that they really want to play. My daughter doesn't like the fighting games and everything. Like, she likes Smash Brothers because it's more cartoonish, but she doesn't like any of the other stuff. She doesn't like the shooting games. She doesn't like any of that stuff. So the Xbox is kind of limited in that regard. We did play the Disney World game for a little bit, but she wasn't too into that one. And David's Devices points out that the reason why Halo has been delayed is because gamers are so critical of it. Absolutely. Jamaica Gamer, Tecmo Bowl, awesome football game. I love that game. Is the Super Bowl one better? I can't remember which is the best of the two. And Magic mostly plays with the Mister. And these work with the Mister, by the way, too. So those will do that. Labitech wants to know, does it work with all consoles and devices? Not really. It works with the Switch, the PC, the Mac, the Raspberry Pi. There's a whole list of things that it works with, but the Xbox and PlayStation are not compatible, nor is iOS, without some futzing around with it. Thomas wants to know, can I check the tension on the sticks? It feels about the same as the old ones. I'm not sure if I can measure the tension. Maybe I can kind of have it snap back for you. It feels very close to a PlayStation controller, I would say, an Xbox controller. It doesn't feel much different than that. It's got a little more tension than my Xbox One controller here on the desk. Lewis is wondering, is this out yet? Not yet. It's out next week, but the embargo has lifted, so we can review them. He wants to know, is it Linux compatible? Yes, it'll work with Linux and the Raspberry Pi and all that good stuff. Brandon Lee skipped the first gen because the software was Windows only. Yeah, this brings it to Android, so you should be able to install that on your Chromebook and get it configured that way. Absolutely. And I agree with this, JP. It's a good control. I'm liking it so far, and I've had it for a couple of days now. Yeah, you know what's even weirder? Here, let me pull this comment up from Michael. What's funny is they made an official Xbox controller that wasn't compatible with the Xbox. It's designed specifically for the cloud gaming. We reviewed that a little while ago, and I was just like, why wouldn't it work with the Xbox? And I'm guessing there's probably something to the electronics that makes it hard to have a switchable controller that's compatible with a phone and the Xbox. Although, these work just fine with phones, right? It's the real Xbox controller. So I'm not sure what the deal was with that one. But yeah, if it worked with everything, it would be, they would sell many more of these. David's Devices is grabbing one from my link. Awesome. Thank you, David's Devices. Getting the classic version. Yeah, you can still buy the other one, too. I don't know if the price is going to come down on that. Utech Pia, thank you for the follow. And it's been tough for all of us creators out there lately. And thank you, Utech Pia. Yeah, I try to be positive. I'm an optimist. I am an optimist. And you know why I'm an optimist is because what I have found is that in many cases, you can make your situation better if you don't like the way things are going. I live in a small town, so I think it's easier to be able to contribute to making things better, So that's been my perspective of things. If around here, if you've got the time and you want to make an impact on the community, you can volunteer for, most of the government functions are volunteer positions, many of them appointed. So it's a fun place to be. I'm on now 2 boards of education, so it's good there. But yeah, I think the way I look at things, just to continue from Utechpia's point, that if you look at things like everything's happening to you versus what can I do to improve the situation, so a good example it would be with this game controller. This is not going to pay the bills so much, but it's something that I like to do, and I review things to pay the bills, and I review things that I like to review. So that's something that how it goes. But I think we have a lot of opportunity now. If you have some faith that you can make an impact on whatever you're trying to do. And the other thing that I have, you could take the perspective of why is all this happening to me? And I think a lot of people have much harder runs at stuff than I do, so I don't want to sound like, just pull your bootstraps up. But I think there's a perspective of, and even in this business, like, why is that person getting something that I should get? I don't look at it like, why do I not have, as opposed to, how can I go about getting that, right? So in this case, like 8Bitdo in full disclosure sent this to the channel to review, and if they had not, I would have bought one, and I would have been able to do my review that way. I don't hold a grudge if somebody decides not to send me something. You know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff. Because I would have bought one. In fact, I started pre-ordering one, and then they said, hey, we got one. I'm like, okay. And thank you for the super chat, Mark Dell. Much appreciated. Yeah, this has actually been a very helpful session. I was going to start recording the review, but now you've all given me some things to think about for how I want to structure things. So what I might do is, after the live stream is over, I'm going to let this go another 15 minutes or so. I'm going to grab some lunch, and then I'm going to reorient my notes a little bit to cover some of the things that I've been hearing in the live stream. So Jason Hill, will this work on iOS? Jason Hill, I would love to know how your SN30 currently is working, because we just tried this and we couldn't get it to work without doing the accessibility hack. So if the accessibility hack is how you're getting yours to work, then it's going to work fine right now. Utechpia says, perfect review prep. Yes, it is great review prep. That's what I love about doing the live streams, is that sometimes I'll record the review during the live stream, that was actually what I was going to do right now. And then I just started getting so many questions in that that I figured it would be good to just kind of let this be a free-flowing Q&A. Andy G says, drop test. Yeah, I can tell you this one's been dropped a lot, because this is my 4-year-old's preferred controller. She doesn't throw things, but she drops things all the time, and it has survived. The Switch has survived, too, to my surprise. Labitech, see Jason Hill's comment here. It will work with the iPad through the accessibility setting, but not natively. And yes, I have been sidetracked. Well, it's funny. I was sitting down to do the review this morning, and I really like to do at least 2 or 3 live streams a week, because the way the Amazon stuff works, it's really good to keep up on the Amazon. So Amazon kind of drives the streaming schedule, and I said, yeah, if I stream, I'm going to get sidetracked, because I'm going to just start talking to everybody. And I was like, but I haven't streamed yet this week, so and then I did it. So here we go. But it's good. This has been productive time, because it's helped organize my thoughts a bit. L3SI, I have the original SN30, the small non-plus. It's great for traveling. However, I was never a fan of the PlayStation-style look. Wish they would make an Xbox-style one. Yeah, because it does have the sticks down here. I have a feeling they went with this design because the Pro Controller from Nintendo mimics the Xbox design. So I think they figured, hey, people with, and I think Switch is the main market for this. I just get that sense, because they're kind of marketing it as a Switch controller. So if you wanted the D-pad positioned here, and I'll tell you what, I play Tetris, whatever it is, Tetris 99 on this, and it works great. David's Devices, thank you for the pre-order on that on Amazon. I get a little cut on that one. Somebody was asking, do I send this one back to them? No, they let me hold on to these, And I'm guessing primarily because they send these directly to me from China, so it would be a real expense to ship it back. It probably would cost more than the controller is worth. So that happens a lot of the time. Utechpia wants to know, do I know if the M30 will get an update as well? I'm a fighting game fan, so I like the 6 buttons on the front. So it does get updated. However, and I do love that M30, by the way. However, this is the only one that's going to work with the new software. So, and I'll show you that software actually now that we're just going to shoot in the breeze here. Let me pull up the software on the Mac, and I'll show you how that works. So let me go put this in the other window here. This is fine because I need to do this anyhow. So let me get that window situated, and I'm going to just can I make this full screen? Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, but it doesn't work that way. Nick MG wants to know, is it cordless? Yes, it is wireless. However, it wants my controller connected via USB for setting it up. So now I've got the controller connected, and I think I have to switch it into A mode. There we go. All right, so now it's asking me what I want to configure. So maybe I'll have it configured. And this is kind of weird because I'm hooked up to a Mac and it doesn't have a Mac option, but I would imagine like Android would be the Mac equivalent. So I'll click on Windows here. Oh, looks like we're going to have to get the Windows computer out for, for that. Okay, so let's try switch. So S for switch. So I got to switch it into switch. So we're going to go over here and switch it into switch. And then we will see if it responds to that. There we go. Okay, so now it's coming back. Okay. And then I can go in and configure. So I'm going to have to do this part of the demo on the Windows computer because you can't configure. This is going to be an involved review. So now you can see here we've got 3 profiles. And then these will sync up with the controller. And now how do we configure those buttons on the bottom? Do we have to go sticks, vibration, macros? Let's see what the macros do. So here is the macro. And so you can't put in key presses, but I could have it do A and B at the same time. Actually, let me just delete this real quick here. Oh, I see. I just mapped that to A. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So let's cancel this. I see what it's doing. Okay, so we're gonna just back out of that. Can I? Oops. Can I back out of that? Let's take a look here. Back to full screen. I was trying to figure out how to get out of this menu I stuck myself in. I don't sync to the controller. No, 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 no. Okay, let's try this again. Macros. I hit plus. Okay, so then I have to push the button that I want to configure. So what I'm going to do here is push the left, this one. Did it pick that up? Did not pick that up. Let me hit the plus button here. Okay, so there we go. So now I've got that macro as my thing. And can I do A and B at the same time? No, so I got to hit A, B, add. Okay, I see what it's doing. So it can push those together. See that? Somebody was asking about that. Can you push 2 together at the same time? That's how you would do it. So it can do 2 at once. Hopefully this is making sense. All right. So I get these questions all the time, and I'm not trying to be mean here. I don't really know right now what's the best one for $300 or less because it changes constantly because of stock levels. And then it's a matter of whether or not you want Windows or Chrome OS. So I would have to look because the problem right now is that stock is so low on everything that you almost have to take what you can get, especially on the lower end stuff. Let me see what's out there right now for Windows laptops, just briefly. Yeah, so there's, I mean, I think you, like Lenovo's got one, this L210. I should probably get this one into review, actually. It's got the N4020 processor. It's 225 bucks. Like, that one's not bad. You know, they're never going to be all that great, you know? Like, it's a compromise. You might be better off buying, like, a used one that's got a little more horsepower. And Jay Carl was the one asking about the macros. Yeah, I've got to look. See, I've got a lot of work to do now because I got to be able to figure out how to demo. I guess I could do that in. Yeah, we'll figure that out. But yeah, it looks like you can do two buttons together, which I don't know if that was possible on the other one. And you could do a Hadouken macro. Yeah, that could be something I could do. I think I have Street Fighter on there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to play around with this a little bit more. So now I'm like, ugh. So we'll figure it out. And there's still a lot of scalp. We talked about all of the, by the way, the electronic shortages that are impacting everything right now. And laptops in particular are really hard to come by. Heffen says, I built a gaming PC about 3 years ago. I've been playing on a 2012 Mac Mini and thinking about buying an M1 Mac to be my daily driver for the office, browsing, etc. I actually, somebody else that I know just did exactly that. They had a 2012 Mac Mini and went to the new M1 Mac Mini. And you know what's nice about it is that if for doing work, like this MacBook Air, I use it for everything. It just works all the time. I don't have to, you know what I mean? Like I turn it on, it works, and it's fast. So that's why I like to use it. So, all right, I got to play around with this a little bit more. Okay, so I think my lunchtime break here is going to be focused on programming macros. I'm going to use my Windows laptop instead of the Mac so we can configure it in different modes and try to figure out the best way to do all of this stuff. And I'm just looking at my screen here. So we also have, I'll show you the rest of the software. You've got vibration modes here. So I could set the level of vibration. It's got a good vibration to it. The left one feels a little stronger than the right one. Hear it? But you can set the amount of vibration that each one does. And then this one I know a lot of you are interested in. This is the stick accuracy. And actually, that's something we could probably demo because what I could do is pull up an overhead shot here. Again, I'm just trying to figure out the best way to approach this video. Because what I could do here is pull up, let me do a multi-view here so you can see what I'm thinking about. So I could do this, and then I can make it smaller and kind of move it over here. Where did it go? Handquake, thank you very much for the super chat. So I could kind of show you like how the controller functions here. But where did my, I lost my visual here. Well, I think I know what I did. So I think what happened here was that my, get back on me for a second here. I think what happened is that my software kind of went away. Yeah, it looks like it just lost my, my second display just kind of went out on this thing. And that's my NDI thing just went out. And the problem is with my NDI thing, if I futz around with it too much, it crashes my system. So I got to be really careful about that. But what I could do is I could just, no, it's still there. Yeah, it's still there, but it's just not showing up. I think what I did is I think I screwed up. Oh, I see what I did. Yeah, I totally screwed this up. Let me revise this. Reset all. Bear with me for 1 second here, folks. I totally botched this completely. Okay, so let me reset this. And then I'll be right back with this working better. Okay, so now what I need to do is put this in a different multi-view part here. So let's go back to multi-view. Layer 1 is going to be this. And now I can zoom this out and then give you a better demonstration of the stick sensitivity. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so now I can hold the stick up here and you can get a feel. I'm trying to get a good idea. I'm trying to be able to demo this in a way that's effective. And you can see how sensitive those sticks are. And then what you can do in this screen is actually set the dead zone. So you could actually set a zone where it ignores portions of the image. That gives you a feel of that. And there might be a little bit of latency here just because I'm bringing in the computer's display over NDI. So there's probably maybe about a frame of latency here. So it's not going to be perfectly synchronized, but pretty close. So that's pretty cool. So that's going to be something we're going to have to demo also. So let me make a note of that. Customization demo. I think within that we can demo stick sensitivity. This might be an all-day project now that I'm looking at this. Okay. And so by the way, I got in that projector a lot of you were asking about also. So we're going to do that later in the week. All right. Bear with me here. I'm going to go back to our chat. Maker wishes that they would update the OG Spark. Yeah, I have a lot of Sparks. I've got 2 of the HX Sparks, and then I've got the 4K Spark. And for whatever reason, it crashes my my vMix sometimes if I switch resolutions. And I have the new version of vMix that lets you isolate stuff now, but that uses more resources. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out what works best here. Heinz Pia, this has been a big question from everybody. You know, the hard part with the Bluetooth, and I'm probably going to talk about this also, because the latency on this is the same as it was before. The Bluetooth latency is tough because it's going to vary based on what you're plugging it into. And so I don't have like a computer with fancy low latency Bluetooth host controllers, and I don't think a lot of people do. So it is, you know, nothing's as good as plugging it in, right? On the Mister, I plug everything in just because I like the lowest latency possible. Then you have display latency. You got all, I mean, the latency is just a nightmare. Although I think the new Xbox has some workarounds for that, right? Some predictive whatever, right? All right, just a couple more questions here, then I'm going to go grab some lunch and shoot this. And actually, Andy G, that's a very good idea. I could bring out my green screen mouse pad, which I have back here. And I don't think there's, it might get thrown off by the red button here, but let's take a look. So let's put this on. I'm going to make a, here, I'll just do it on this thing here. So let's go in and, here, I'll show you what I'm doing as we do it. So we'll go in here and we'll just say, here, let me show you my, my screen. So I'm going to give you my screen here. So what we're going to do, this is my vMix screen here. So I'm going to turn off your comment real quick. And what I'm going to do is click on the gear icon here. And we're going to go to color key, turn that on, use my eyedropper, grab that. I guess I should probably grab the shadow area, right? Just it's a little bit more. And turn the chroma key filter on. And then we'll see, the one thing that I've noticed with this chroma key thing is that it, if you're laying it flat, there's always some issues with shadowing that you would not have with a normal thing, right? But you know, I've got it fairly well cut out here, so check it out. So now we can go over here, and it looks kind of square there because you can see my hand where it crops out. But you can now have the controller kind of floating, and it might be a little nicer, right? Looks like it's turned off. What happened? There it goes. shadows. Okay. And then you can adjust, so you have the ability to adjust the zones here, so I can have it stop. So basically 100% now is there, right? So if you really wanted to bump up the sensitivity. And you could do this on the other one. So this is not unique to this one. Also, you can adjust the triggers on this too. Let's see if I can go back to, oops. The triggers had a sensitivity adjustment also, but I don't see it on the list here. So you can swap the sticks, you got all that stuff. I could have sworn they had controls for the analog controls. Maybe I'm mistaken. Or is it that the does the switch not have? I don't think the switch has analog controls on the triggers. Does it? That might be why. All right, so I got to explore that also. And so, and then as far as the shadows go, see the problem though is that with a typical green screen, you have, what you usually do is you put the screen behind you, you light the screen, and you put somebody a little bit of ways in front of it and then light them. And the problem that you have with this is that when you are placing something flat on it, unless you've got a light coming down on there, you got to hold this up pretty high to get rid of that shadow. So if you wanted something laying flat, that's where you get some of the shadowing issues. But it doesn't look bad. I mean, against a black background, it's fine. I think if we were going to put this up, if I put it up on me here, so let's try that real quick and see what that looks like. So if we go and pull up camera 3, let's move this over a little bit. So pull up 3. You can see it's a little fuzzy, but then when I pull it up and that shadow goes away, it's a little better. But when you have it laying flat, you're always going to have a little bit of shadow unless you can figure out a way to really, it'd be nice if you could like backlight it, right? That would be like a light coming behind it to get it better. And you'll also notice here that the A button, because it has green in it, gets kind of keyed out. So you have those little quirky things there too. So a couple little things there. Brandon Lee says, doesn't it work better? Yeah, so if you want low latency, plug it in with the cable. That's it. BB Garnett wants to know, do I get paid lunches? Sorta. Depends how well the videos are doing, right? So that's how that goes, for sure. My boss is sometimes in a good mood and sometimes not. And Mike Jorgensen said it's not in the switch profile. So yeah, I got to get that Windows PC hooked up for the demo, for the review. Here's something unrelated, but I wanted to comment on this comment because I don't think this has entirely been my experience with Apple. So I've had a number of Apple. So Apple takes a long time to admit that there's a problem. But I found that generally with some of these larger issues, I've had probably a half a dozen different post-warranty recalls on my Mac. My MacBook Pro upstairs is like 5 years old, 4.5 years old. It's gone in for 3 or 4 different services free of charge, long after the warranty, mostly with the keyboard. And then my wife's went in for the keyboard, the battery, all after warranty. The keyboard, the battery, and then we had the bend issue with the display. They fixed that also. So they've been okay with me. Yeah, you're going to see, especially in the Raspberry Pi's Bluetooth controller, that's it. So that's definitely something you're going to run into with these things. And I'll talk about that because I think I have found, like with some of these older Android phones out there, horrible latency, no matter what you use. We saw it with that projector we reviewed the other day. It was like 140 milliseconds or something crazy like that. So it's there. So the Sinclair's ZX81 hype, yeah, that actually is a Timex Sinclair 1000 that we got here in the US. Isn't that funny? It's kind of neat. All right, well, everybody, you've now given me some work to do. So I gotta go. I'm gonna go have some lunch and redo my notes on this and come back and shoot this a little later. So my next stream will be probably tomorrow, maybe tonight if I get done faster. But tomorrow I got in the Jimbo projector. What was that projector called that you all wanted me to buy? What was it? The Jimcom? Let me see what it's called. It's the Jim Pro projector. It was like a 6,000 lumens projector. And I got a light meter also, so we'll be able to put it to the test. Let me see what it was. It was the, oh, now I don't remember what the name of it was. Let me check my previous orders here. So I bought the Jim Tab M18, which suddenly disappeared from Amazon. So it's not sold anymore? What happened? I had a whole stream plan for that. That's not fun. Wait a minute here. Hang on a second. Let's see what's going on with this thing. The Jim Tab M18. Yeah, it's totally missing in action now. That's not cool. Let me search for the ASIN. Yeah, it just disappeared. Well, maybe we won't do the Jim Tab projector. I'll come back and look at it. We'll have something to stream about. But this was very helpful to me, everybody. So I thank you all for tuning in and asking some questions. And we'll do that. Yeah, I guess maybe Breath of the Wild would be a good one to test aiming with. I haven't played that in a long time. I got to remember how to do that. They should have like a tester for the motion controls. Yeah, I don't think anything's going to be as good as that, but we'll figure it out. All right. That's a good point on the title here. I should probably not call it shooting something, right? So we'll figure that out. All right, well, let me go grab some lunch, and I'm going to come back and finish this up. And I think this was productive time because it's good to get all my ducks in a row here. I've been playing with the controller, but it's good to get some more perspective on what you all are looking for. So good stuff. All right, I'm out of here. I'm going to grab some lunch. Thank you all. If I didn't get to your comment, I apologize, but I'll be back. So just set your notifications, and we will do this once again. See you in a little bit, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Bye-bye.